"You weren't supposed to come back," my father said when he saw me on the doorstep. His eyes were wide, not with anger or confusion, but full-blown panic. Behind him, something glinted in the darkness, a quick flash of metal catching the hallway light. Before I could ask, my mother stepped forward. She didn't speak. She just took my hand, tight, urgent. And then, somewhere behind us, the door clicked shut. Locked from the inside. I didn't even know who had closed it. My suitcase was still by my side. I hadn't crossed the threshold. I glanced back. The porch was empty. The street was quiet. Still, something in my chest told me I was no longer free to leave. "What's going on?" I asked. My mother's grip tightened. "Come inside," my father said. His voice was calm again, too calm. "Just for a minute. You must be tired from the trip." I didn't move. "Who locked the door?" He looked over his shoulder. "It's nothing. You've just caught us off guard." That's when I noticed everything in the house looked too clean. Not lived in clean, scrubbed. The kind of clean that hides things. Bleached secrets. I crossed the doorway slowly. My suitcase stayed outside. The air smelled faintly like lemon polish and something else I couldn't name. The lights were dimmer than I remembered. Softer, but colder somehow. Like everything had been muted. My mother didn't let go of my hand until we reached the living room. Then she gently pushed me down onto the couch and sat across from me. My father remained standing. "You were supposed to call," he said. "We could have prepared." "Prepared what?" I asked. Neither of them answered. I looked around. Nothing on the walls. No photos. No paintings. Just blank hooks where memories used to hang. The TV was unplugged. The clocks were wrong. There was a plate of untouched toast on the kitchen counter. No crumbs. And then I heard it. A faint creak. Upstairs. I turned. "Who's here?" My father's jaw clenched. "Don't worry about that." "I'm not worried," I said. "I'm asking." Another sound. This time lower. Like furniture moving. A dragging noise. My father stepped in front of me. "You need to understand, coming back here opens a lot of doors." "Someone just locked one," I snapped. He smiled faintly. "Some doors open, from the inside." I stood. What does that even mean? Silence. My mother whispered, "You should never have come after dark." I felt my skin crawl. Why? More dragging sounds above us. This time, closer to the stairs. I started toward the front door, but my father blocked the way. "You're not leaving." My pulse spiked. "Excuse me? You left once before. You don't get to run again." He reached into his pocket. I took a step back. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a small, worn photo. He held it out to me. It was a picture of me. Only, it wasn't. It looked like me, same face, same eyes, but the girl in the photo was smiling wide. Too wide. And in her hand was a set of keys. My keys. "You left her behind," he said. And I had no idea what that meant. I stared at the photo, my breath shallow. The girl looked like me down to the crooked front tooth I'd fixed at 16, but the date scribbled on the back made my stomach twist. March 14th, 2012. That was the night I left this house for good. But I'd never seen this picture. I looked up at my father. "Where did you get this?" His eyes didn't move from mine. "She left it on the kitchen table." "She?" He nodded slowly. "The other you." My mother whispered. "She came back 3 nights ago." I blinked. "I came back 3 hours ago. She looked like you. Spoke like you. But she wasn't you." I backed away, the photo trembling in my hand. This is insane. But something cold settled in my chest. Something ancient. Familiar. "What did she say?" I asked. My father's face darkened. That she was ready to remember. Remember what? They didn't answer. Instead, my mother opened the drawer in the hallway cabinet. From it, she pulled a necklace I hadn't seen in years, a tiny silver locket I used to wear every day as a child. It had been missing for over a decade. "We found this in her coat pocket," she said softly. I reached out to touch it. As soon as my fingers grazed the metal, something jolted through me like déjà vu crashing into a nightmare. A hallway. Screaming. A locked door. I pulled back. My father watched me carefully. "Do you remember now?" I shook my head. But I was lying. Something was waking up. Something buried. That creaking sound upstairs came again. Louder this time. Closer. I turned toward the stairs. My mother said quickly, "Don't. Please don't go up there." "Who's up there?" She didn't answer. I took one step forward. My father didn't stop me. So I climbed. Each step groaned like it remembered me. Halfway up, the air changed. It was colder, heavier. The hallway light flickered. There were 3 doors. My old room. The guest room. The attic. The attic door was open a crack. And there, on the floor outside my old bedroom, was something small and shiny. I crouched. A key. The one from the photo. I picked it up and stood. Then, from inside my old room, I heard a voice. Faint. Familiar. Fragile. "Did you bring the locket?" My fingers froze around it in my pocket. The voice came again. Closer. "Did you finally remember?" I pushed the door open. And standing there, in the middle of the room, was me. Paler. Smiling too wide. Wearing my clothes from 10 years ago. And holding a second photo. She tilted her head. "You shouldn't have left me." I couldn't speak. The girl in front of me had my eyes, my posture, my way of crossing one arm over her stomach when she felt unsafe, but this wasn't a lookalike. It was me. Or a version of me. Trapped in time. She was wearing my old hoodie, the one I lost senior year. Her hair was parted the same way I wore it back then. She even had the tiny scar above her eyebrow from when I fell off my bike at age 9. But her smile was wrong. It was too steady, too sure, like she'd been rehearsing it. I took a step back. "What is this?" She cocked her head. I waited. "You said you'd come back." "I did come back." She laughed lightly. "No. You left." I stayed. My pulse thundered in my ears. "This isn't real." She stepped closer. "That's what you said the night it happened." I glanced behind me. The hallway was empty. The attic door was now wide open. And downstairs, silence. "I don't understand," I whispered. She lifted the photo she was holding. Handed it to me. It was the same image my father had shown me, except this time, there was something new. A figure in the background. A man in the hallway. Blurred. Half visible. Watching. My skin went cold. "I told them," the girl said. "I told them what he did. But they didn't believe me." She stepped even closer now, just inches from my face. "So you locked the memory away. You left me here with it." Tears pricked my eyes. "I don't remember doing that. You made yourself forget." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a matchbox. My heart dropped. A tiny weathered matchbox, one with the name of a local diner printed in fading blue ink. I remembered that diner. I remembered hiding behind the counter. I remembered. "No, not yet." She placed the matchbox in my hand. "Do you want to see the rest?" "I don't know," I whispered. She smiled, not cruelly, but with something sad behind it. "You have to choose. Stay up here with me, or go down there with them." "Them?" She nodded toward the stairs. "They're waiting. But they'll only tell you what makes them sleep at night." I stepped back. She didn't follow. I ran. Down the stairs, 2 at a time. Bursting into the living room, out of breath. My parents were exactly where I left them. Too still. Too quiet. I held up the matchbox. "Who is he?" They didn't answer. "Who is he?" My mother looked at my father. My father looked at the floor. And then she said it. "You met him when you were 11. You never came back the same." My chest tightened. "What did he do to me?" "You never told us," my father whispered. But then, the fire started, and everything changed. "The fire?" He nodded slowly. "The one that burned your memory. The one you said wasn't an accident." I turned toward the hallway. Toward the attic. Because now I remembered something else. The smell of smoke. And the locked door at the top of the stairs. I stood in the hallway, the matchbox still trembling in my hand. The attic door loomed above me, not just open anymore, but inviting. Like it had been waiting. Downstairs, my parents didn't follow. They remained in the living room, like statues carved by guilt. I climbed slowly this time. Each step creaked like a question. By the time I reached the top, my hands were ice. The attic was colder than the rest of the house. No insulation, just beams, boxes, and the faint scent of forgotten things. But the far corner, that was new. There was a small space sectioned off by old curtains. My heart pounded as I stepped closer. Every instinct screamed not to go in. But the matchbox in my hand seemed to pulse like a compass, pointing forward. Behind the curtain was a single chair. A child's chair. Wooden. Splintered. With a faint burn mark on one leg. And on the wall behind it, scratched into the plaster, were the words, "Do not tell." Suddenly, the attic felt smaller. Like the walls were leaning in. I turned to leave and froze. The other me stood in the doorway again. Only this time, her face wasn't smiling. Her eyes were glassy. Her lips parted just slightly. "You remember now," she said. "No," I whispered. "Not all of it." "You will." She pointed to a box behind the chair. I hadn't noticed it. I walked toward it. Lifted the lid. Inside were things that didn't belong together. A tiny plastic toy horse. A burned corner of a diary page. A single shoelace. A hospital bracelet. And at the bottom, a tape recorder. I picked it up with shaking hands. Pressed play. A child's voice crackled through the speaker. My voice. He said I was special. That no one else could know. That if I told, he'd take me to the woods again. I didn't like the woods. They were cold. He said he could hide things there. Even people. My vision blurred. I dropped the recorder. The sound kept playing. Louder. But I told the mirror girl. She said she wouldn't let him take me again. The attic spun. I stumbled back. The other me stepped aside. She looked smaller now. Not ghostly. Not angry. Just tired. "Why are you here?" I asked her. "To finish what we started," she said. I heard footsteps below. Not my parents. Heavier. Slower. Coming up the stairs. The girl looked toward the attic door. "You let him in again." My blood ran cold. "What do I do?" She picked up the matchbox from where I'd dropped it. "Same thing we did last time," she said softly. "Light the memory. Burn the lie." The footsteps were closer now. I looked down at the matchbox. Only one match left. And suddenly, I remembered the woods. I remembered the cold. I remembered him. The footsteps were on the landing now. I could hear the slight scrape of the stair rail. The weight of someone who knew these stairs, who had walked them before. I held the matchbox so tightly it dug into my palm. One match. One truth. The attic light flickered, casting shadows that moved too slowly to be mine. I turned to the other me. She stood by the curtain, eyes fixed on the doorway like a soldier awaiting battle. "He's here," she whispered. I thought he was gone. He never left. Not really. I looked at the recorder still playing on the floor. My child voice was cracking now, crying. He said if I remembered, he'd come back. But I did remember. I remembered her. Me. The girl in the mirror. I took a deep breath and stepped into the hallway. The figure was halfway up the final step. Tall. Dark coat. Face in shadow. But then he looked up. And I saw his eyes. I knew those eyes. Not from photographs. From dreams. From nightmares that started when I was 11. The kind you wake from crying, but forget by morning. "Hello, little light," he said. The name hit me like ice. That's what he used to call me. Back then. I took a step back. He followed. Calm. Unrushed. "Your parents told you not to remember. They said it would break you." "Who are you?" I asked, even though I knew. He smiled like he'd been waiting years for me to ask. "I'm the one they made you forget." I clenched the matchbox tighter. "I know what you did," I said. He tilted his head. "Do you?" I could smell the forest now. Wet bark. Rotting leaves. Rope. "You used to take me to the woods. You begged me to. You told me to keep secrets. And you did. Until you didn't." He took one more step. "Do you know what happens when people break promises?" I struck the match. He froze. The flame flickered between us. In its glow, his face changed, wrinkles deepened, skin pulled tight like wax melting under heat. The attic girl appeared behind him. "She's not afraid anymore," she said. And then, all at once, he shattered. Not violently. He simply broke, like a reflection rippling in water, until he was no longer there. The match burned down to my fingers. I dropped it. The carpet didn't catch. The silence afterward was thick. I turned to the attic girl. She smiled, not wide, not eerie. Real. And then, slowly, she faded. Like fog lifting. Like a part of me leaving or returning. I stood alone in the attic. The chair. The recorder. The scratched wall. Still there. But now I knew. I came down the attic stairs slowly. The house was still too quiet. My parents hadn't called out. They hadn't checked on me. It was like they already knew what I would find, or feared what I might remember. When I stepped into the living room, they were exactly where I left them. Except something had changed. Their expressions were softer now. Like they saw something in me they hadn't seen in years. "You remember," my mother said. Not a question. A confirmation. I nodded. She looked down. "I'm so sorry." My father didn't speak. He couldn't look me in the eye. "I saw him," I said. "The man. The one from the woods." My mother flinched. "I didn't make him up." "No," she whispered. "You didn't. So why did you let me believe I had?" She swallowed hard. "Because when we found the locket near the ashes, we thought, maybe if we didn't speak his name, he couldn't come back." I stared. "Ashes? You set the fire. In the woodshed. You were 11. You came back alone. You didn't say a word." "I don't remember that." "You did," she said. "But we helped you forget." "Why?" My father finally looked up. "Because what you did saved you." That word hung in the air. Saved. "I hurt him," I said slowly. "I must have." "You defended yourself," my father said. "You ran. You survived. That's all that matters." "No," I said, voice shaking. "Because something didn't die in that fire. It followed me. Into my sleep. Into the mirrors." My mother nodded, quietly. "A wound doesn't disappear just because the body heals." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the locket. "It was always here," I said. "Waiting." My mother stepped forward. "There's something we kept from you," she said. "One more thing." She led me to the study, the one room that had always been locked growing up. The one they said was for storage. The one I wasn't allowed into, even as a teenager. She pulled out a key. My pulse pounded. The door opened with a creak that felt like the spine of a secret cracking open. Inside, the room was cold. Plain. A single desk. A filing cabinet. A dusty lamp. And a wall covered in newspaper clippings. My face. From various ages. Photos I didn't know existed. Headlines like, "Girl escapes forest fire, details withheld." "Family declines interview on missing man case." "Child trauma case sealed by court order." A thick folder sat on the desk. Inside were drawings. My drawings. From years ago. Of the woods. The man. The fire. The girl in the mirror. "You kept all of this?" I asked. "We didn't know what else to do," my mother said. "We couldn't face what really happened. But we couldn't throw it away." I turned the pages. Each one was like another shard of memory pressing against my skin. And then I found it. The last drawing. A match. And a sentence written in a child's hand. She said light would save us. I held the drawing in my hands, the one with the match and the sentence written beneath it. My handwriting shaky, uneven, like I'd scrawled it through tears. She said light would save us. I stared at the paper until it blurred. The room behind me seemed to dissolve into static. The air, heavier. The silence, louder. And suddenly, I remembered her voice. Not mine. Hers. The girl from the mirror. She wasn't just a fragment of me. She was someone I created, or maybe, someone who came to me when I had no one else. She spoke in the dark. When he whispered threats, she whispered hope. When I cried behind locked doors, she told me to wait. When I picked up the match, she said, "Now." I turned to my mother. "Did you know I wasn't alone that night?" She nodded once. "Not at first. But after the drawings, after you stopped speaking, we understood." My father whispered, "We should have protected you." "No," I said. "You protected yourselves." The words came out colder than I intended. But I didn't take them back. Because even if they'd buried the man from the woods with silence and bleach and false smiles, they also buried me. The girl I was. The girl who had to light her own way out. I returned to the attic that night. Alone. The chair was still there. The burn mark. The box of memory. I lit the match again, not out of fear this time, but as a beacon. And in the faint orange light I saw her. Not standing. Not haunting. Just sitting in the chair. Calm. Peaceful. She smiled when she saw me. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said. "I had to." She nodded. "You remember now?" "Yes." She stood. Came toward me. "I was never here to haunt you," she said. "I was here to keep you alive." I reached for her hand. But there was nothing to touch. She faded slowly this time. Not like smoke. Like warmth. And when she was gone, I knew something else had gone with her. The weight. The silence. The shame. I descended the attic steps and returned to the study. Opened the last drawer of the cabinet. Inside was a box labeled simply, "Evidence." I hesitated. Then opened it. A lighter. A melted flashlight. One child's shoe. And beneath them, a photo. A man, staring at the camera, face half in shadow. My stomach twisted. The same man from the woods. From the hallway photo. From the blurred edge of memory. On the back, in faint pencil, was a name. Not his. Mine. Property of A.D. Session 3. The blood drained from my face. Because A.D. wasn't his initials. They were mine. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who I'd set the fire to escape from. Him, or myself. The photograph slipped from my fingers and fluttered to the floor like an accusation. Property of A.D. Session 3. I whispered it out loud. Not his initials. Mine. A.D. Anna Delmar. My full name. But why would my name be on the back of his photograph? And what was Session 3? I reached into the box again and found a slip of paper folded tight, hidden beneath the melted flashlight. Inside, a scribbled note. "She's begun splitting again." Voice shifts. Drawing patterns re-emerging. Avoid mirrors. It was signed. Dr. H. And then I remembered. Not just the woods. Not just the fire. But before. A gray room. Cushioned walls. A woman with a clipboard. Questions I didn't want to answer. Faces I wasn't supposed to see. Not family. Facility. The man, he wasn't just a shadow from the forest. He was a therapist. No. A researcher. Part of a program. My memories weren't just hidden. They were redacted. Sliced, sorted, stitched together in a narrative I was told to believe. The fire was the escape. But the truth? The truth was that I'd been part of something I never consented to. They watched me, I said out loud. My mother stood in the doorway, eyes glassy. We didn't know what they were doing. You signed the forms. They said it was treatment. My hands trembled. I went to the mirror in the hallway. The one I used to avoid as a teenager. For years I thought it showed something else. But now, I looked at myself, truly looked. And I saw her. The girl I'd buried. Not a ghost. Not a twin. A fracture. A witness. And a survivor. I didn't light the fire to destroy him, I said. I lit it to break the story. My father stood behind me now. We tried to protect you from it all. No, I said. You tried to protect yourselves from the guilt. Silence. Then I turned. You can't hide behind silence anymore. I went to the desk. Picked up the folder of my sealed childhood. And I lit it. Not in anger. But in release. The fire burned quiet. Contained. This time, I watched it without flinching. And as the last page curled into ash, I understood. He wasn't the monster. Silence was. And I would never be silent again.